Good morning. Welcome to the 2018 Cum Laude Induction Service in the Frank D. Ashburn Chapel. The Cum Laude Society was founded in 1906 to recognize academic excellence in the secondary school student population. This ceremony and the reception that follows are demonstrations of our enthusiastic commitment to honor scholastic achievement at Brooks School. To our guests, thank you for celebrating with us. We'll begin by singing hymn 717, My Country 'Tis of Thee. Please rise. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce my esteemed colleague, Ms. Justine Rooney. Ms. Rooney teaches physics and advanced placement, honors, and regular environmental sciences. She arrived to Brooks in 2013, a year after graduating from Connecticut College, where she studied environmental science and government with a focus on public policy. It should come as little surprise that the daughter of a landscape architect and water department superintendent grew up to be so passionate about the environment and how we humans interact with it. Ms. Rooney's impact at Brooks is as big as her personality is bright and bubbly. To prove this point, please raise your hand and keep it raised if any of the following is true about you in your interaction with Ms. Rooney. You have had Ms. Rooney as a teacher in physics, biology, or any of the environmental sciences. You have learned alongside Ms. Rooney during her New England fisheries or surf science winter term courses. Keep them up. You have been coached by Ms. Rooney during any of the following athletic seasons: field hockey, cross country, squash, or crew. You have had Ms. Rooney as a dorm parent in Merriman or Whitney houses. You have hit the jackpot by having her as your advisor. Quietly, please take a look around. Her impact is significant, there is no doubt. You may put your hands down. Ms. Rooney loves what she does, and a reason why we are so excited to hear from her today is that she helps to ignite a similar love of learning in all of you. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Justine Rooney as our 2018 Cum Laude Society Speaker.
Morning. So, what did you learn at school today? I recently asked Mr. Benson's son, Sam, this question. After a moment of thoughtful consideration, he said he had learned about how the Earth's plates come together to form volcanoes. He was excited, and his response brought me right back to learning about volcanoes myself. This conversation starter with Sam got me to thinking about what I had learned at school that day. When people ask me what I enjoy about being a teacher, I mention my ability to continue learning, that my job is to be well-versed in topics I truly find interesting. Over the past 5 years, there hasn't often been a day that's gone by that I haven't learned something new. Learning can take you to new places. In a single day here at Brooks, you can learn about how light travels in outer space, or why the Egyptians were ahead of their time in medicine and mathematics, or how shadows affect color when painting an image of a figure. At times, we take for granted that we are here at Brooks to learn, and that we are lucky to be in a place where earning your education is expected rather than a privilege we have to fight for. Here, we celebrate knowledge, and on days like today, we get to recognize individual achievement at the highest level. But what if learning doesn't always come easily to you? What if at the end of your academic day, you leave feeling like the knowledge didn't sink in? I want you all now to think about the worst grade you've ever earned. Was it the first failing grade you ever got? Was it the first test grade you got back here at Brooks? Was it something you thought you knew how to do? Were you worried that someone would be mad at you for not working hard enough? Did it make you feel stupid? But the most crucial question is, does that grade now define you? I recently sat in the faculty room, and some of your teachers here at Brooks recounted the worst grades they've earned. They discussed how they still remember them to this day. As I listened to their stories, it dawned on me that these were all academics talking about how school made them feel inadequate. However, does that bad grade now define them as a person? Do you think that Miss Waters is any less knowledgeable about history because she earned a D in chemistry? What about Mr. Smith's D in modern German history? Has that impacted his ability to teach AP stats? What about Dr. Davies' D in physics? Sorry, thank you to all three of you. Our worst grades, Our worst grades stick out to us. They're memorable moments during our educational experience. But did you learn something about yourself when you failed? In my household, we lived by the B.B. King quote, "Education is the one thing no one can take from you." I was fortunate that my parents' version of success did not hang on individual grades that I earned. They encouraged me to learn that earning your education was always a solid investment. This idea starts with my mother, who had to pay for every cent of her education herself, even joining her college's field hockey team because that allowed her to have a free meal plan. Earning the distinction of cum laude in her undergraduate career and going on to collect 2 master's degrees, she's a pretty impressive role model. My father can most often be found outside, helping me explore the world around me, everything from the stars in the sky to intertidal pools on the beach. One of my favorite traditions of his is that he leaves articles that he has cut out from the newspaper on my bed. Breaking news out of the Cape Cod Times with his handwritten commentary on the top. They're almost always about fish. But did you hear that I said I was fortunate that my grades weren't how my parents measured success? That's because for as long as I can remember, school was a challenge for me. If you told me in high school that I would be standing here today, I would have laughed at you. When I asked you to think about the worst grade you've ever received, I have too many to count. Many tears were shed over my grades growing up. There is a memory of not being able to spell the word get on the board in second grade, something you should absolutely be able to do at that point. There's the time I needed to repeat French 1, leaving me in an introductory French class, both as a freshman and a sophomore. Or the time I earned a C in environmental geology while at Con. I took it because my teammate said that geology was rocks for jocks. She was 100% wrong. It was the hardest class I've ever taken. Some of my earlier memories are sitting in the kitchen with my sister and mom trying to learn daily spelling words. My sister, who is 5 years younger than me, would learn them faster and start spelling the words before I could have a chance to answer. When we were younger and the question would come up, "What did you learn at school today?" she would enlighten my parents with facts and figures that she had learned, talking so fast I could barely keep up with the dialogue. While I would stare blankly, trying to remember something, anything, to add to the conversation. The expression, "a deer in headlights," should paint the perfect picture. Throughout my younger years, there were red flags, hinting that my brain might not process information the same as my peers. Things like learning how to spell, speaking French, or reading aloud were all items that I struggled with. When my report card came back after my first semester of my freshman year at Tabor, and I had straight C's, some alarm bells went off. The academic intensity of high school had ramped up, and I was falling behind. My advisor at Tabor suggested that I get some formal academic testing done to see if there were any gaps in my ability as a student. Academic testing is an evaluation to determine levels of intellectual functioning and the academic skill of a student. It provides a thorough picture of how one performs in an academic setting. A student is compared with others around the same age. A few highlights from my evaluation. It reads the following. Her abilities fall within the upper end of average range and equals or exceeds 70% of the population of children of comparable age. Great news, right? We should stop there. Freshman fall at Tabor was a fluke. I'm a genius. It continued, though. Her areas of weakness include her working memory and processing speed, which fell in the lower end of average and low average range. My combination of below average abilities would now be known as an executive functioning issue. I notice my deficiencies in my processing speed and working memory daily. I regularly have to ask people to repeat their questions. It takes me a few moments to process that red lights have turned green, and I often get overwhelmed when too much information is thrown at me at once. This evaluation of my academic skills allowed me to understand my areas of weakness and address them. Mr. Doggett, the dean of Tabor at the time, was tasked with explaining to me what my learning evaluation had uncovered. When discussing my processing speed, i.e., the time it takes a person to do a mental task, someone's ability to react to the information they have received, he said, "Now, your processing speed is a bit slower than the average person." It's in the 20th percentile, to be precise. He said, "Let's take computers as an example. There's dial-up internet." I hope that you guys know what dial-up internet is. If not, please look it up later. And there's high-speed internet. He said, "Most of us are working with high-speed internet, and you're like dial-up." Not his best analogy to tell a 15-year-old about how our brain processes information, but he got the point across. All I heard at the time was, blah, 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 you're never going to be a good student, blah, blah, you're stupid. What I didn't know at the time was that my processing speed or working memory had nothing to do with how smart I was. What it meant was I was never going to be a French scholar, and I needed more help than some of my peers. Luckily, I, like you, was surrounded by teachers who cared about my experience as a student. They knew it was going to be tougher for me. However, there was no excuse not to do well. I spent countless hours at Extra Help, in the Learning Center, and even thinking about how many hours my poor French teacher, Mr. Patel, spent with me while he was on dorm duty reminds me of the critical importance of teachers who really care. What you need to understand is that it was totally worth it, that the extra time I put into my work helped keep me on track with my peers. And I'm here today because I took the time to invest in my education. There were even moments along the way where learning started to get easier, and my strengths outweighed my weaknesses. My junior year, I started taking advanced marine science. It was a course filled with exploring the intertidal zone, investigating invasive species, and learning about the deep sea. I was hooked. I loved learning about how the ocean worked, and my inability to process information as quickly as my peers fell away because my grade did not matter to me. The material did. I can still tell you to this day that the diamondback terrapin's scientific name is Malcolmese terrapin, and I will never forget watching a NOAA scientist cut into a cold-stunned turtle to do a necropsy. That class made so much of an impact on me that it became the focus of my undergraduate studies. I left for college so sure I wanted to spend the rest of my life studying science. I recently read a book titled The Teenage Brain, in which Frances Jensen says, "Your brain is sometimes an explanation. It is never an excuse." I would encourage you not to let your GPA define you, to become instead a lifelong learner. Let your brain shed any inkling that you're not smart enough to do something. Set goals for yourself and do what you need to do to accomplish them. Don't define yourself by one bad grade. All of the individuals earning the distinction of cum laude today have had their own academic struggles. That being said, they have all persevered. They have put passion into what they have done, and excellence has followed. It is humbling for me to be here today to help recognize and celebrate their achievement. I am so happy for each and every one of you. So what did you learn at school today? I will leave you with this. Peanuts are not actually nuts. They're legumes. French for vegetable, thanks Mr. Patel. And they're better described as edible seeds that grow underground. Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Rooney. Next, the awarding of the certificates. I would ask that Mr. Packard and Ms. Rooney come forward to join me in honoring our students. Student honorees. The distinguished record you have made at Brooks School has won for you membership in the Cum Laude Society. This society is a fellowship of scholars whose purpose is to recognize excellence in academic work. As you pursue your education, it is our hope that you will accept the honor of membership in this society as a responsibility to make a contribution to the ongoing search for greater understanding of humanity and society. The motto of the society is Arete, Dike, Time, excellence, justice, honor. Arete includes the concept of excellence in the moral sense and is not limited to the ideal of superiority and scholarship, nor does it involve the endeavor of competing primarily for academic goals. Dike includes the concept of what is suitable and appropriate as well as just. Time includes the concept of dignity and truth as well as honor. In testimony of your admission to the Cum Laude Society by the authority of the society duly granted, I now present to you these certificates of membership. As I read your name, please come forward to accept your certificate from Mr. Packard and your pin from Ms. Rooney. To those gathered in support of our students, you may applaud after each name is read aloud. Stephen Chung. Madison Deirdre Dunn. Se-hee Jong. Maxwell Sear Kemper. Lucas Robert Muther. Carolina Rosemarie Scala. Nathaniel Palmer Smith. Logan Mary Witz. Chichu Victor Wong. According to the bylaws of the Cum Laude Society, each chapter may elect up to 20% of the sixth form. Whereas in previous years, Brooks School has elected 10% of the fifth form in their fifth form year, we will now observe Cum Laude Society tradition and wait to induct all 20% of the sixth form together. Will those students previously elected Cum Laude members from the class of 2018 please stand and stay standing as I read your names? To those gathered, please hold your applause until all members are standing. Jordan Page Erikelian, Max Benjamin Charlam, C. Young Choi, Jacqueline Lorraine Desautels, Jason Lawrence Gold, Henry James Goodman, Olivia Margaret Jarvis, Lucille Campbell Lannon, Da-In Lee, Isabella Lillian O'Shea, Catherine O'Neill Packard, Lutong Zhao. Congratulations. A hearty congratulations to our inductees and to their families. These students' dedication to their studies has not gone unnoticed. All Cum Laude members, their families, and the faculty are invited to attend a luncheon in their honor immediately following this service in the Frick Dining Hall across the street from the chapel. We will now sing our school hymn, the words to which can be found in your program of service or inside the back cover of your hymnals. Please rise. In the spirit of what Ms. Rooney has shared today, and in honor of the hard work and passion that earned our inductees the recognition they have just received, I offer you wise words from the late, great theoretical physicist and cosmologist Stephen Hawking. Remember to look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious, and however difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. It matters that you don't just give up. Please allow the new inductees and their families to process out first, followed by the faculty, and then our students. New inductees should then gather outside the chapel for a photo with Ms. O'Neill before proceeding to the frick. Thank you.